This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what you need to know today. In a press briefing yesterday, the American Assistant Secretary of European and Eurasian Affairs, Ambassador James O'Brien, stated the U.S. supports a durable and dignified peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan. He said the U.S. is encouraged that the countries continue to have a robust agenda bilaterally and address the issues that remain between them. O'Brien called this moment a great opportunity for both governments to deliver more for their people, praising Armenia's reform agenda as very impressive, while saying Azerbaijan's ambitions to play a role in regional economic development would be assisted by a peace agreement. He made a reference to having concerns about some people in detention, but did not elaborate. O'Brien said the U.S. has a very full relationship with both countries. These statements come just after U.S. Caucasus Negotiator Louis Bono made a trip to the region. He met with officials in Yerevan, however media reports suggest Baku refused to receive him. The international NGO Human Rights Watch just released its annual report on human rights concerns in countries around the world for 2024. In Armenia's section, the aftermath of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict is a primary concern. The report took issue with amendments passed by Parliament in March, which established additional grounds for denying public information requests. Other issues mentioned were domestic violence, disability rights, discrimination of LGBT people, and a lack of female representation in all branches of government. Azerbaijan's report noted that it blocked all humanitarian goods to Nagorno-Karabakh and sometimes the operation of the International Committee of the Red Cross patient transports, as well as cut power and gas lines. It referenced Azerbaijan's refusal to implement interim measure decisions by the International Court of Justice, calling on it to open the Lachin corridor. It also said military skirmishes against Nagorno-Karabakh and on the Armenian border endangered the safety of those living there. It notes that political bodies such as the European Parliament and the UN Human Rights Council have called on Azerbaijan to promptly create conditions for the voluntary, safe, dignified, and sustainable return of ethnic Armenians and provide for international monitoring of the situation. Other major issues for Azerbaijan are the prosecution of government critics, the lack of freedom of expression, media, and assembly, and instances of torture of those in police custody. In response to a question posed to her by a journalist on criticism by Armenian officials that Russian peacekeepers did not protect Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova called such statements destructive and, most importantly, untrue. Most recently, Secretary of the Security Council of Armenia, Armen Grigoryan, stated Monday that until now, Armenia has not received an explanation from Russia on how ethnic cleansing took place in the presence of Russian peacekeepers. Armenian officials are not alone in criticizing them, as Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev declared Wednesday that Russia failed in its role as peacekeeper. Zakharova also responded to a statement by Chair of the Foreign Relations Committee of the Armenian National Assembly, Sarkis Khandanyan, that Armenia prefers to continue negotiations with Baku in Washington and Brussels because those platforms have international legitimacy, a snub of Russia's desire to mediate. Zakharova replied, "You should not dive into absurdity and lose sense of reality," and warned that in its efforts to please the West, Armenia should not approach the edge. She also accused Western negotiators of having merely copied and pasted Russia's proposals and adapted them to their own interests. Check out CivilNet's new video on the dispute over Ararat Tennis Club, located in downtown Yerevan's Ring Park. The city has announced it will be demolishing the courts, which date back at least 60 years, calling it in the public interest as part of redesigning the park. Activists and tennis lovers oppose the plan, calling the courts a special part of the city's historical memory, and criticize the planned redesign. Find a link to it in the video description and on our website. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 232,500. That's the amount in US dollars that were wagered in Armenia in online betting over the first 10 months of 2023, while over 12 billion US dollars changed hands via internet gambling sites over that time. While these numbers might be a boost for the wider economy, they implicate serious social problems such as gambling addiction, which the government is seeking measures to combat. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.